Now, every year, February the 15th is observed as the International Childhood Cancer Awareness Day. The day is set aside to highlight the danger and impact of cancer among children. Statistics show that more than 400,000 children and adolescents below the age of 20 are diagnosed with cancer every year. While the chances of their survival are close to 80% in some high-income countries, the rate of survival for such patients from low-income countries is as low as 20%. The theme for this year is Better Survival is Achievable, #through your hands. It aims to pay tribute to the efforts of the medical team and healthcare workers for bringing positive impact to the lives of children and adolescents with cancer. Joining me now for more is consultant, clinical radiation oncologist, the Dorcas Cancer Foundation, Dr. Emmanuel Anderl. Thank you so much for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Thank you very much and good morning.
Thank you very much. What's the significance really? What more do we need to know about childhood cancer? Looks like I'm hearing this for the first time.
Absolutely. And, you know, it's part of the reason why we are here. Generally, the awareness about cancer is, you know, very poor. And then as part of the effort to enlighten the public and create the awareness, that is why we are here this morning. This is not unexpected in, you know, this part of the world where, you know, we live. But of course, efforts are being made in order to, you know, bridge this gap. By the way, we are talking about childhood cancer. What are we talking about? I mean, what is it all about? We are talking about childhood, and we're talking about cancer. You know, even the word cancer for some is still some kind of very, you know, strange word that, you know, until somebody dies of cancer, that's the time that some people, you know, get to know about such conditions as cancer. Simply put, okay, what is cancer? We are talking about a disease entity in which, you know, certain cells in a particular, you know, part of the body begin to divide uncontrollably. They multiply, and then they lose that ability, you know, to stop growing. And this can be due to quite a number of factors, you know, which, of course, in the course of our discussion, we are going to talk about. And of course, there is this characteristic, you know, problem with cancer, which makes it, you know, a concern and a burden, not only locally but worldwide. You know, it's such a unique condition that has a tendency to, you know, spread from the primary location to distant organ,
right,
and ultimately could even lead to death.
Right. I put it to you that quite a lot of people have heard about cancer. They might not be able to identify whoever has a cancer or
Absolutely.
not. I've seen some people who died of cancer both within and outside Nigeria.
Absolutely.
That I really know. But then the childhood cancer is something that's quite a bit, you know, when you hear the word and then the feeling towards a child, and then you heard a child is, you know, down with cancer. So I'm trying to ask you, what's the cause of childhood cancer and how does it compare to adult cancer? Do they have some sort of, you know, connection whatsoever?
Yeah, well, like I did say earlier, you know, the way, you know, cancer develops, you know, I mean, in the setting of where the cells, you know, begin to grow uncontrollably, is a common denominator both for adults and for children.
Okay.
However, you know, talking about the causes for cancer, the causes are not known, as we do say and as we know. However, there are risk factors, and it's even more so for children. You know, where you can't really pin down, you know, particular causes. However, known, you know, risk factors for childhood cancers could be due to some developmental abnormalities or some what we call genomic problems. We are talking about instances where, you know, in the course of development, from the father, the mother, the contribution of the germs, either due to error of omission, deletion, some damages to.
So you're trying to say it could be hereditary?
Yeah, I mean, by extension, I'm still going to talk about that.
Right.
These are related to the gene.
Okay.
Simply put, error of, addition, omission, damage to the chromosomes could lead to such abnormalities as, commonly known as
when you say error,
Down syndrome.
It's sounding to me like, when you're working, you're trying to, you're working mathematics equations sometimes.
Yeah.
And when you say error, is it an error that you committed intentionally or the one that just happened?
Absolutely. Of course, it is unintentional.
Unintended, right.
I mean, you and I, we are here like right now. Our genetic makeup is not something we could have changed or altered in any way, right? So I was trying to talk about such abnormalities as, I mean, there's one we call trisomy 21 or Down syndrome. We do know that children with such abnormalities are prone to such cancers as leukemia. In fact, they have up to 10 to 20% chances of having leukemia. You did mention hereditary. Of course, it's also a key factor. Certain childhood malignancies as a result of inherited, probably what we call mutation, in such a way that, the child inherited certain genes, like, for example, a childhood tumor called retinoblastoma is due to abnormality in what we call ROB gene, retinosblastoma gene.
Let's leave all of those jargon to those who are in the medical world.
Exactly.
But someone, an ordinary man who has a child, no one prays to have this, but then how do you detect the sign and symptoms in a child or even an adult?
That's a very good question and a very, very important question. You see, we can't just put, some umbrella words and say, okay, every child that has fever, every child that has a swelling at some, different part of the body, it's cancerous. Certain symptoms are non-specific. I mean, as common as fever, which of course in this part of the world, when someone has fever, adult or a child, what comes to mind is malaria. Yeah. However, instances where, malaria has been treated, the mother must have taken the child to serious different health facilities, and the fever continues. So that raises, a suspicion that something might be wrong, right? So fever, of course, we can say fever, but it's not every case of fever. A child has maybe swelling around the jaw. Doesn't necessarily mean it's just a lymphoma, which of course lymphoma is one of the known and a common and malignant disease. So, but common symptoms as malaria, swelling, and even headache for brain tumor, for certain age group, it could raise suspicion, and when such things are noticed by parents and probably regular treatment, such patients is not responding, and then there's a need to take such a child to a specialized center for further evaluation and investigation in order to rule out the possibility of a childhood cancer. Before,
a lot of people had got to, have had to die of cancer, but it's good news that it's treatable if detected early. All right, but then the chance of survival in developed countries, I think, is about 80%. And that in Nigeria and other developing countries, they said it's 20%.
Yeah, it's low.
So what would you say?
It's abysmal.
What would you say we've been has been put in place? Maybe the government, maybe the health, agencies, to ensure that in this part of the world, people don't get to die from cancer.
That's a very fantastic question. You see, we cannot, shy away from one very key factor, which is our socio-cultural background. We live in a part of the world where almost everything is attributed to spiritual. And it's also due to poor enlightenment as well. From the statistics, we also do know that some avoidable, death due to cancer, right, is due to, lack of diagnosis, misdiagnosis, and late presentation. Now, for lack of diagnosis, we are talking about instances where even the disease was not even diagnosed at all, because probably the child was taken to, either to the herbalist, to the church, or some other kind of setting where the case was mismanaged.
Or to the chemist in our
Absolutely,
local parlance.
of course, which is very common. Or misdiagnosis where, of course, the child is taken to the hospital and treated severally for common diseases, illnesses.
Right. Well, but because of our time, one thing I would like to hear from you is that it is very treatable.
Absolutely.
Not
when they present very early.
When they present very early. Well,
early detection.
We believe what you're trying, you are actually driving at is to ensure that Nigerians are aware, become very much aware about this disease.
Exactly.
And it can happen to anyone, whether child or
adults.
adult.
Absolutely.
Well, consultant, clinical radiation oncologist, the Dorcas Center Foundation, Dr. Emmanuel Andero, thank you so much.
Thank you very
for coming
much.
to TBC
Thank
Breakfast.
you. My pleasure.